Welcome to our Salzburg Schatzsuche. Before we begin, there are some rules to follow. You'll need your map of Salzburg so you don't get lost. Always stick together as a group, never wander off on your own. When you get to each of your destinations, you will need something to prove that you visited that place. That may be a postcard, a ticket stub, a digital photo. Please take photos for this activity on one camera, or any other creative thing you can think of, but don't do anything illegal. Be sure to spend some time at each destination looking and exploring. Listen to the entire podcast for that segment before exploring. Mozartplatz. It's hard to mistake this place. Look for the statue of Mozart built in 1842 in the middle of the square. If you stand in the square and look in the same direction as Mozart, you will see a tower in the left corner of the square. The tower houses a glockenspiel, but don't expect fancy moving figures like the one in Munich. This one is just bells, which is what glockenspiel means. It plays at 7, 11, and 6 each day, and the tune changes monthly. How about a photo of your group in front of Wolfgang before continuing on to Residenzplatz? To get there, stand in Mozartplatz with your back to the American Express office and the river. The Residenzplatz is the large unpaved area on the far right corner of Mozartplatz. There are two awesome sights to see here. The first is the Triton Fountain. You might recognize this from The Sound of Music. It has stags, athletes, a triton, and an aquatic animal. Which aquatic animal do you see? The second site is Prince Archbishop Wolf Dietrich's former residence, hence the name of the square. Stand with your back to Mozartplatz. The building on the far right of the Residenzplatz is the actual residence. Its claims to fame? Young Mozart performed here. Napoleon and Kaiser Wilhelm I were guests here. And art from Rembrandt, Rubens, and Bruegel are here. The museum is open from 10 to 5. Most importantly, you have now been here. Don't forget to document your visit. Now it's on to the dome. At the corner of Residenzplatz is the entrance to the Domplatz. In fact, the side of the dome, the cathedral, is one side of the Residenzplatz. A long time ago, there was a man who was both a prince and an archbishop. Having power in the church and with the state made Wolf Dietrich a very rich and important man in Salzburg. It's because of him that this cathedral exists. Go through the arches now and into the Domplatz. Look at the dome's entrance. 3 years are marked. Find the 3 years. Consecration of the original cathedral in 774. Completion of the current cathedral in 1628. The original cathedral burned. And the completion of reconstruction after World War II in 1959. Go inside now. If you drop a coin in the box as you enter the dome, you will be given a small card with a picture. It might make a nice proof of your visit to der Salzburger Dom. Enter the cathedral now. To the left, just inside the entrance, is the large baptismal font from the original cathedral where Mozart was baptized. This cathedral was built in just 14 years, which makes the architecture very harmonious. When you are finished enjoying the magnificent interior, go back outside. Walk straight back from the doors until you get to the arches at the far side of the Domplatz. Now turn around and walk toward the dome, watching the head of the statue of the Virgin Mary in the center of the Platz. Do you see a crown on Mary's head? Hint, the crown is not on the statue. Nice optical illusion, isn't it? Now let's take a look at St. Peter's Cemetery. St. Peter's is tucked beneath the Münchsberg, one of Salzburg's mountains, and can be tricky to find. To the right of the dome, as you face it, is another passageway leading to Kapitelplatz. Head there. As you pass under the arch, look to your left to see a rather spooky black statue. Check out the giant pretzels usually being sold at one of the open-air stands in Kapitelplatz. You can get to the cemetery by walking toward Festungsgasse, just off of Kapitelplatz on the side opposite the cathedral. Look for the Festungsbahn signs posted on the buildings, but veer to the right before actually entering the Gasse. Continue on to St. Peter's Cemetery. Whoa, check out the cemetery. Even if you can't go in, look through the gates at the beautiful flowery graveyard. Not exactly like the granite blocks in Minnesota. Not only is there a cemetery on the ground in front of you, but look to the side of the mountain. Catacombs are dug into caves inside of those cliffs. Maybe you can see some of the windows. Take time to explore the cemetery, but shh, be respectful. Silence is the rule here. The large markers and the iron gates were the basis of the graves the Von Trapp family hid behind during their escape in The Sound of Music. Mozart's sister Nannerl is buried here. Find an unusual grave to photograph for your proof, but remember to be respectful. Now make your way back to Mozartplatz. At the end of Mozartplatz, near Residenzplatz, is the Café Glockenspiel, a great place for some coffee and kuchen on its second-floor outdoor balcony. It has recently been sold, so it may no longer be pink and may no longer be Café Glockenspiel. No matter, just find the building at the end of the square that Mozart's looking at. If you face this building, to your right is the entrance to Judengasse, which will bring you to the Alter Markt on your left. If Domplatz was the center of religious life in the past, this is the center of secular life of past centuries. On the north side of the Alter Markt, to your right as you enter the Platz, you can find house number 10a, das kleinste Haus der Stadt. Measure the width of the house in some creative way, with shoes, people, hands, etc. Next door, number 11's notorious spiral staircase leads to a basement home for prostitutes of the past. How will you prove you were here? Leave the Alter Markt where you entered it, but turn left and continue along as Judengasse becomes Getreidegasse. On your left at Hagenauer Platz, which is Getreidegasse 9, you will find a yellow house with Austria's red, white, red banners. This is Mozart's birth house. In 1756, this prodigy was born here, but in 1773, the family moved across the river. Mozart only lived to be 35, but his influence was permanent. Imagine the world without the Marriage of Figaro. Trivia: Mozart still has influence on popular music today. One example is Queen's leader Freddie Mercury, who was known for his Mozart-affected piano playing. His song, Bohemian Rhapsody, mentions the character of Figaro from a Mozart opera. If you have time, the upper floors of the building are a museum dedicated to Mozart. You should have no problem finding something Mozart to photograph here. Now check out the purest Baroque architecture in Austria. The Kollegienkirche, also known as the University Church, is on Universitätsplatz. Find the Passage near Mozart's house. A passage is a covered walking area between buildings, kind of like a pedestrians-only ground-level tunnel. Follow the passage through the buildings until you get to Universitätsplatz and the church. The church is on the opposite side of the square from the passage. Between the two, you will usually find a markt going on. This might be a good place to buy a snack of fresh fruit. Be sure to go inside the church and see the famous white statues at the front of the church. Do you see how the clothing of the statues is almost alive? Did you remember to take a picture? Now retrace your steps back through the Passage to Getreidegasse. Look up and down Getreidegasse. This street is the heart of Old Salzburg. It looks very much like it did in Mozart's day. Notice the signs above the shops. The symbols tell what each shop sells, a practice dating back to when most folks couldn't read. Photograph your favorite sign. What's it advertising? Trivia. Getreide means grain. This is the street where horses found a snack back in the days before cars. Say goodbye to Old Salzburg now and make your way to New Salzburg. When you've finished perusing Getreidegasse, follow the street that leads away from Mozart's house to the Salzach River. The river is named after Salz, salt, the white gold of Austria. The salt mines in and surrounding Salzburg are why this town was founded here so long ago. Make your way to the Makartsteg, the walking bridge over the river. It's off to your left. Cross the busy street to the riverbank only at a stoplight. From the bridge, you can also get a great view of the two large mountains outside Salzburg, the Untersberg to the left and the Geistberg to the right. What color does the Salzach water look today? The river isn't dirty or polluted. Its color comes from minerals picked up as water comes down from the mountains. A photo of the Makartsteg would be a good souvenir. Once you have crossed the bridge, you are in New Salzburg. Make your way to the Mirabell Gardens. Go to the first main street paralleling the river. Cross it, with the light of course, and you find the Marktplatz. At the right side of the Platz, you will see another Mozart site, the pinkish Mozart's Wohnhaus. This is where the Mozart family lived from 1773 until 1787. Today it's a museum dedicated to Mozart. The gardens will be past the Marionetten Theater, which is on your left. As you enter the gardens under the outstretched arms of two statues, you may think you're walking into a scene from The Sound of Music, but the garden's history is much older. Remember the Prince Archbishop Wolf Dietrich? Get this, he built Schloss Mirabell, the pretty white building across from the gardens, for his mistress in the 1750s. It was remodeled in 1913. If the building is open, go inside and check out the staircase and the Baroque cherub statues. If you're lucky, you might even get to see a wedding party. This is a very popular place for summer weddings. These gardens are fashioned in Baroque style, meaning it's full of curves. Find the fountain surrounded by four statues. The statues represent the four elements: fire, air, earth, and water. Can you identify them? Now walk to the far end of the garden and find the Pegasus Fountain. As you look around, do you expect to see the Von Trapp family singing Do Re Mi? Don't be afraid to hum a few bars. The steps just beyond the fountain were also part of the movie song. Up the stairs to your left as you face the Do Re Mi steps is one of the most mysterious parts of the garden, the Dwarf Garden. No one knows who made this circle of misshapen beings or why. Similar statues exist in many Baroque gardens. Dwarves were generally highly respected because of their loyalty. Imagine how you might be depicted in dwarf form. The last thing you should do in Mirabell is find a poem engraved into stone somewhere in the park. There are several poems written by a Salzburgian poet named Georg Trakl about the Mirabell Gardens. Can you figure out what any of it means? It's written in dialect. Location hint. It's on a wall, but not on a palace wall. There are lots of photo ops here at Mirabel Garden. Which one will you choose for your... If you are tired, you can end your Schatzsuche here and head back to Old Salzburg to relax and meet the group. If you are up for a bit more adventure, there are 2 more sites to see. Exit Mirabel Gardens and make your way along the Schwarzstrasse, check your map, until you reach Linzerstrasse. This is the main drag in New Salzburg. If you are up for a bit of a climb and have time, you should continue with this part. At the corner where Linzerstrasse and Steingasse meet, take a right onto Steingasse. Shortly you will turn right on Imbergstiege. This is a narrow road/walkway leading up a very steep hill onto Kapuzinerberg. Did you know that cappuccino coffee is named after the Capuchin monks? This group wore a small white hat showing some dark hair around the sides. It looks a bit like dark coffee in a cup with lighter brown foam in the center. Take your time climbing the stairs to reach the top. When you get there, follow any of the paths to the hill overlooking the river and the city. There's nothing quite like the panorama. Once you have returned to Linzerstrasse, follow the street until you see a large arch on your left. This is Linzerstrasse 41. Walk through the arch and curve along behind the building to the right. Here you will find St. Sebastian's Cemetery. Again, Wolf Dietrich is the man behind this place. This cemetery is very different from St. Peter's Cemetery. That's because this cemetery is an unusual one for Austria and is in fact done in the Italian fashion. If you are up for a hunt, follow the central path leading to the mausoleum to find Mozart's family. Constance, his wife, and Leopold, his father, are marked. Don't forget to document your visit. Wow, you've gone for quite the trip. Good job. Make your way back to Old Salzburg and our meeting spot. If you still have time, find a shop that sells Mozartkugeln. These are small marzipan and chocolate balls that are famous in Salzburg. You can find them in either silver, handmade, or gold foil, machine-made, decorated with Mozart's face. Enjoy!